welcome to the 2013 Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden Summer Camp Film Festival. As Glenn said, my name is Dave Wilt, and I'm your host, your camp counselor in a manner of speaking. This is my 8th consecutive year with the Summer Camp Film Festival, and actually the 9th overall, if you count the sort of proto Summer Camp Film Festival we had way back in 2004. My job is to provide a little background information on the films we're going to see, and also to place them in the larger context of films, popular culture, and society. This year's theme is Pup Tense, where we'll see that the so-called man's best friend is really not to be trusted at all. We should all become cat lovers instead. Films in this year's series are The Breed, a 2006 film. Next week we will see Man's Best Friend, a 1993 movie about a super bad dog. And then the final night of the series on the 20th of June will be Cujo. It's the 1983 adaptation of Stephen King's monster dog novel. It's a scientific fact. There are dog people and there are cat people. There's also horse people and snake people, bird people, ferret people. We won't go into that, but I've had dogs and I've had cats. I probably have had more dogs than cats in my life, but I guess I would consider myself a cat person. I mean, why not? Cats are so cute. You know, there's some cats and dogs are cute, but even uncute cats are cuter than uncute dogs. The truth is that popular culture over the years, more attention has been paid to dogs than cats. And while there have been various horse stories and movies and TV shows, an occasional show or movie starring a dolphin or an ape or a bird or a bear or something like that, dogs have pretty much been the popular culture champions for a number of years. Now, of course, on the internet, cats own the internet, but that's another thing entirely, and I'm entirely convinced that the internet's not just a passing fad anyway, so the dogs will eventually hang in there. This dog centricity in popular culture probably has something to do with the general perception of dogs as loyal and active companions, particularly in outdoor activities. You can take a dog for a walk, and the dog can go hiking with you, protect you from a bear or a bad guy or something like that. And cats can't necessarily do that. Maybe they could, but they don't want to. So there's more potential for dramatic stories with a dog. But while dogs are viewed more favorably than cats, there are also more bad dog examples than bad cat examples. As we'll see next week, for cats, in order for cats to be perceived as threats, there really needs to be a bunch of them or some sort of extenuating circumstances like it's a supernatural cat. But we're all familiar with mean dogs that can scare you or bite you, even when it's just one of them and they don't have any superpowers. So it cuts both ways. Dogs can be heroes and dogs can be villains. Here's some well-known dog stories of the late 19th and into the 20th centuries, many of which you may recognize. Most of these are good dog stories. Bad dogs do appear in literature of the era, but rarely are they the main character. Even the titular hound of Arthur Conan Doyle's The Hound of the Baskervilles wasn't really, like a major player in the novel, even though it was named after him. Many of the books and stories were later made into movies, but the saga of dogs on film began even earlier than that. One of the earliest dog films is a film called Rescued by Rover. It was made in England in 1905. A highly intelligent collie helps rescue the kidnapped child of its owners. It was extremely popular in its time, and in fact, the movie is credited with popularizing the nickname Rover for a dog, sort of a generic name. Before that, people didn't call their dogs Rover. Actually, in real life, the dog actor was named Blair and belonged to the director of the film, Cecil Hepworth. This dog was a precursor to Lassie and other highly intelligent cinema canines, as we'll see in this sort of abridged version. wait, is there something Rover? And so Rover begins a house-to-house search. Is there baby in here? No? Okay, sorry. Baby in here? Nope. Okay, sorry. Hello? Baby in here? What do you know? Well, it didn't happen upstairs. This way, baby. Smells right. So Rover realizes he can't do it on his own. Goes home. Rover on the playground. Rover running around the shop. No, wait. Where are you running down? You know where my baby is? I'm going to come with you. All right. Let me get my top. Oh, we're going to break into this house. All right. Well, here we go. And so Rover, as I said, is sort of a precursor to all the movie dogs and later reunites the little girl with her family. Blair, a.k.a. Rover, reappears several years later in the very amusing 1908 film The Dog Outwits the Kidnapper, which actually elevates the super intelligent canine's behavior almost into the realm of fantasy. Once again, this is an abridged version. Same baby, a couple years later, and after this. So I'd like to see a cat do that. During the silent era, several other dogs gained stardom. One of the first was a German Shepherd named Strongheart. Actually, Strongheart's real name was Etzel von Ehringen, but what kind of name is that for a movie star dog? Strongheart was very, very popular in the 1920s, even had a brand of canned dog food named after him. He also has a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame, along with Lassie and Rin Tin Tin. Sadly, Strongheart passed away in 1929, so that's probably why he's not very well known today. Rin Tin Tin, another German Shepherd, actually surpassed Strongheart in popularity, and his brand name continued for many years, even after Rin Tin Tin himself died in 1932. There was a Rin Tin Tin Jr., who made a number of movies. Then other dogs took over the brand name for various radio series in the 1930s and 40s. Yes, we had a radio series about a dog. Popular television series in the 1950s. There are also books, comic books, and other Rin Tin Tin merchandise. Rin Tin Tin is actually sometimes credited with saving the Warner Brothers studio in the 1920s since his movies made so much money. This story was loosely adapted to a film in 1976 called Wonton Tom, the dog that saved Hollywood. And actually, the Rin Tin Tin character has been used in other movies and television shows in subsequent decades, right up into the 2000s. There were a number of sub-Rin Tin Tins in movies, most of whom were German Shepherds. And here are a few examples from the 1920s and the 1930s. None of them achieved the same success as Rin Tin Tin, however. Of course, one of the most enduring and popular movie dogs is Lassie. Unlike Strongheart and Rin Tin Tin, Lassie was a fictional character who from the start was impersonated in films, on television, etc. by various canine thespians. Originally a character in a short story, which was then expanded to a novel in 1940, Lassie went on to have a long career in films, on television, and various other pop culture manifestations, including a running joke about, Timmy fell in the well. What were you trying to tell me, Lassie? Which we saw, Rover, Rescued by Rover, did it back in 1905. Of course, there have been other recent movies about dogs, starring dogs, images from a few of them, 101 Dalmatians, Air Bud, the cartoon dog, Weenie, Old Yeller, who was a good dog until the very end, and Beethoven, the good St. Bernard, as opposed to Cujo, the bad St. Bernard we'll see in a couple of weeks. Of course, most of these are good dogs, and that's the opposite of our general theme this year. So next week, we'll examine the history of bad dog movies. But right now, let's take a closer look at tonight's film, the 2006 release, The Breed. One of the interesting things about the films in this year's Summer Camp Film Festival is even that all three of them are about killer dogs, and they have some other similarities. Each film really fits into a different genre. The Breed could be categorized as a hybrid of two genres, the cabin in the woods genre and the nature fights back or nature rebels genre. Cabin in the woods genre deals with a small group of people in an isolated location who are confronted with a deadly threat, which could be anything from zombies to killer dogs to killer dog zombies. This is actually an offshoot of the so-called old dark house genre, where you get a bunch of people in an old house and they start being murdered mysteriously. That dates way back to the early 20th century, possibly before that. But the old dark house genre gave way to the cabin in the woods genre, which is mostly horror and science fiction, in probably the 1950s. Some examples of this include The Killer Shrews, which is about killer shrews, although we could have included it in this year's film festival because the shrews are actually played by dogs with fake fangs. Night of the Living Dead, which is zombies as opposed to dogs. The Pack, which is another killer dog movie. Evil Dead, which is supernatural zombie types. And Cabin in the Woods, last year's film, sort of a postmodern take on the genre of Cabin in the Woods. The other genre which contributes some attributes to The Breed is nature fights back against mankind, I guess we would say. In order to qualify as a nature fights back genre film. You need more than just one rogue killer creature. In other words, not like Jaws, which is just one shark, not every fish attacking people, or one grizzly bear or something like that. You really need a whole horde of them in order for it to qualify this type of nature fights back genre. Sometimes the reason for the animals' anger against humans is explained. Sometimes it's just sort of alluded to. Sometimes it's just a mystery. Examples include giant insect films. So a few years ago in the Summer Camp Film Festival, we had Pest Fest, where we showed the beginning of the end, which is about giant locusts, and Them, which is about giant ants. And of course, Alfred Hitchcock's Birds is a very good example. The Swarm, which is about killer bees, Frogs, which is frogs and other amphibians, etc. And Kingdom of the Spiders, which is spiders, and Day of the Animals, which is sort of an omnibus one, where all sorts of animals start attacking people. Here we have a clip, actually a trailer for tonight's film, The Breed, which shows the various elements of these two genres combined in the movie. Even the trailer sort of makes it clear that it's a combination.
Wait. No TV, no phone.
So you actually like to take a break from civilization?
There it is.
This place is incredible. I love it. Does anybody know what time it is?
Here's to being single, seeing double, skipping triple.
You've liked him since you were 14.
You guys hear that? So just thank you.
I think we should get the plane ready.
What, you wanna leave? Plane's drifting away.
But shoot right through it on purpose. I don't want to share. It's like they know we want to leave. We're here. Oh my God.
Coming soon, in about 5 minutes. Nick Mastandrea received his first and so far only director's credit on The Breed. He primarily works as an assistant director and a second unit director. Mastandrea originally started working for George Romero, who made Night of the Living Dead, which is an Academy Awards film, and then he became associated with Wes Craven, who did Nick a favor on this film by executive producing it and thus lending his horror movie name to the project. Mastandrea's recent assistant director credits include Scream #1 through Scream #4, and Oliver Stone's George W. Bush biopic W, and last year's science fiction time travel movie Loopers. So he is staying busy, he's just not directing any films on his own lately. The small cast of The Breed, and as we said, Cabin in the Woods, other genres, you have a small group of people, is headlined by Michelle Rodriguez, a sort of quintessential cinematic tough chick who's in Avatar and Fast and Furious movies, etc. Also in the film is the handsome Oliver Hudson, who is the son of Goldie Hawn and the brother of actress Kate Hudson, and Bill Hartberg from CSI New York, for those of you who watch a lot of television. So it's just about time for tonight's movie to start. Don't forget, next Thursday night, the Summer Camp Film Festival will present the 1993 film Man's Best Friend. You see, the title is ironic because the dog monster is not a friend at all. So that's a little advanced, I'll tell you, about films. And you won't be surprised by the friendly title. It's not friendly at all. So anyway, thanks for coming out to the 2013 Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden Summer Camp Film Festival Pup Tense, and enjoy the movie.